Hi Shantanu, welcome to this podcast. Today we are going to discuss business leaders' expectation from the AI program. And you have been a very senior business leader in the banking financial services space. So my first question is, what do business leaders think when they think about AI?
So the first thing they think about is, am I missing out? Are we deploying AI around the right places? Are we covering all the use cases possible in my sector, in my industry?
Mhm.
And are we ready for it yet to deploy AI?
Mhm.
Those are the kind of questions that come to mind first.
Sure, sure. As a business leader, what are your expectations if you have to implement AI programs in your organization?
So AI has been a buzzword for many years, and business leaders think of AI as a little bit of a silver bullet, which will solve all their problems.
Sure.
So they have fairly high expectations. They want it to solve practically every challenge they've come across, like in increasing revenue, increasing their customer base, saving cost, increasing operating efficiencies,
Mhm.
improving customer experience, enhancing levels of compliance,
Mhm.
all at the same time.
What has been the experience of leaders like you when you have implemented these AI programs? While, of course, machine learning, data science has been quite pervasive in the BFSI industry, banking, financial services. But with the advent of Agentic AI, Generative AI, what has been your experience with some of these deployments?
So the experience has primarily been around use of machine learning technologies
Hmm.
and a little bit about robotic process automation.
Hmm.
Traditionally, in the BFSI space, that's where most of the work has been done until about a year ago,
Hmm.
when a little bit of Gen AI work has
Sure,
happened.
sure, sure.
Agentic deployment, because it's been a regulated industry, has been somewhat slow, but it is going to increase very rapidly. That's
Sure.
been the experience so far, and the outcomes have been fairly wide ranging. So
Hmm.
from highly successful to less successful to completely unsuccessful also.
Sure. What has been the specific challenges of these business leaders when they are deploying AI?
So when I spoke about the inconsistent outcomes, they are closely linked to the challenges that they face.
Sure.
And the challenges are in 4 or 5 parts. One, although BFSI sector has been fairly data led,
Hmm.
there is a wide range of experiences in terms of data quality, data management, data governance.
Right.
There's also a fairly wide range of uh, sophistication and maturity in the availability of data
Hmm.
and the accessibility of data.
Right, right.
And that causes the outcomes to be fairly wide ranging in terms of meeting expectations or not. So, what exactly is the difference between machine learning, Gen AI, Agentic AI, and also advanced analytics? We use the words interchangeably,
Hmm.
but we don't quite know the difference between these terms
Sure.
and in terms of their capabilities also. So how do they differ in terms of what they are and what they can do?
Sure, sure. No, I think a very good fundamental question. So we need to understand the journey of AI data science. While machine learning, deep learning, all of these concepts have been there for the since 1950s and 60s. It's just that those concepts came into the banking financial services sector in 90s, 80s, and 90s. Companies started to use it. Banks started to use it. So when I was heading data science at a big financial services company way back in 90s and 2000s, we were using classical machine learning, predictive models. So predictive models in the marketing area to predict cross sell, predict customer attrition, or in the underwriting, predict uh, predict default, predict day past due, delinquencies. So that kind of stuff was happening. So machine learning still remains valid in today's times. Banks have to use machine learning models to take some of their decisions. The problems are the same, whether it is related to customer life cycle or underwriting, risk, fraud. Agentic AI or generative AI, see, generative AI is more used for generating a certain kind of a content. And now, I think what is more relevant is agentic AI. So agentic AI is now is being used by the banks. They have just started in the last couple of years to automate their processes. Let's take an example of underwriting. So in underwriting, a lot of processes can be automated using agentic AI. So, for instance, an underwriter is managing 10 applications currently, but with the help of automation using agentic AI, that underwriter can manage 50 applications. Collections processes can be improved. A lot of communication and interaction with the clients can be, customers can be automated using agentic AI to recover the money from them or to ensure that they don't fall into delinquent cycles. So I think, and of course, my belief is that a lot of organizations have to see where they are on their data journey. In some cases, they have to just look at their hindsights by creating stories and dashboard and using data, and then move to more insights, and then do use predictive insights or to forecast things to build foresights for your business leaders. So this is how I will sort of think of this as a whole continuum.
So, thank you, Naveen, for explaining the concept of machine learning and Gen AI, and then agentic and advanced analytics. And you've briefly mentioned some of the use cases. But can you elaborate on the use cases specific to the BFSI sector? Say, for example, in the case of the lending sector, or the wealth sector, or the liability sector, specific use cases that you've successfully deployed in any organization for each of these areas.
So, I just spoke about underwriting and collections for sure. In loan origination and looking through the whole customer life cycle, you can use agentic AI to take a lot of your decisions and accelerate those decisions. Even in, for instance, I will explain a data engineering use case which we have been working on with a large multinational bank. There, it's a simple data mapping issue where there is a central data table and it has to be mapped to some of the source tables or tables for certain applications. And it's been done in a very manual fashion. So a lot of times it takes months to complete the whole exercise. There are thousands and thousands of tables. So now we have used a customized agentic solution where we have developed agentic AI on their own premises, on their cloud instance. And we have created the whole process, and now this mapping can be done within days and hours. So it has given such a benefit to this organization, and frankly speaking, this was a beginning of agentic AI journey for this bank, and this has opened the door for future opportunities because the senior management is very impressed with the capabilities of agentic AI. So I'm taking just this as one example of agentic AI, and of course, we have our own platform which is called TransOrgIQ, which we have developed, and where we are focusing on agentic data management and governance, business process automation using agentic AI, and also agentic analytics, where you can do business intelligence, even prescriptive and predictive analytics using TransOrg IQ. And some of those three use cases broadly, the areas I have mentioned, are also very relevant to banking, financial services, and insurance companies.
Capabilities of AI are well known, and as I said earlier, the experience of deploying AI has been fairly dispersed in terms of the levels to which expectations have been met, and the differences have been around how well the organization is prepared for deploying AI. So, to be more specific, I wanted to ask you: can AI now be deployed, or AI solutions can be deployed for organizations where there are challenges in data quality, data governance, data management, data availability, data accessibility, and where data is not centralized? It resides in multiple sources like data lakes, data marts, or even in people's laptops. So, this is where most organizations currently are. They haven't reached the stage where everything is absolutely clean and everything is all in one place. So, can it still be deployed in such situations?
See, in an ideal scenario, what you just mentioned in terms of data quality, data governance, that should be all in place. Because you if it's garbage in, it's garbage out. Because data is the fuel for AI. But having said this, it doesn't mean that you have to be in ideal state to start your AI program. So you can start in bits and pieces. You can look at some areas where data is relatively okay, and it's easy to consolidate data, say, in a function rather than at an organization level, and then start using on simple use cases of, say, automation around documentation or customer interactions. So some of those use cases are very easy to implement, and that will give you bang for the buck. You will immediately start seeing ROI of your processes. Also look at processes where those are low hanging fruit in terms of can be easily automated. It's a very well understood process, and we know that even if data is into disparate sources, but we can quickly stitch it together before we even start thinking of creating a data lake program and those kind of things. So some of those processes can be looked at, and not just automate the workflow, also redesign the workflow. See, agentic AI is autonomous, so all of these AI agents have their own mind as well. So it's not just that you're always thinking of automation. You can also redesign some of those processes using agentic AI. So that's the way I would think about it.
So this is quite useful to know, and it explores the number of places where you can deploy AI. But what about cases where data is not fully structured? So when we would apply machine learning solutions, we would expect it to work only where data has been structured and only structured data is available. And ML tools would typically work only on structured data. But with agentic and Gen AI, is there now scope to deploy AI solutions even where data is unstructured?
Sure. No, very good question, Shantanu. See, historically, we have been doing predictive modeling and machine learning and advanced analytics only on structured data. But with the advent of all this audio data, videos, a lot of content on social media, or there's a lot of documents which has unstructured data. Those are not numbers. So this is all unstructured data beyond numbers. In fact, agentic AI is a boon for this kind of a use case. Agentic AI is very powerful in understanding and making sense of unstructured data. And now banks, financial services are increasingly looking at combining both structured and unstructured data to drive insights. In fact, when the models are built, a lot of features are extracted from unstructured data as well, which in the old times was done to an extent using natural language processing or video processing and all of that stuff. But with the advent of diffusion models, on which all of these large vision models are based on, so uh, such kind of models and such kind of AI techniques are definitely helping analyze unstructured data, and that has taken analytics to a different level altogether. So yeah, I mean, in current times, if you're missing on your unstructured data to drive insights, then you're missing a lot.
So traditionally, I mean, the way my companies, wherever I've worked, have tried to draw meaning from their data is through structured dashboards. In the last few years, people have been pivoting towards use of visualization techniques and tools like Power BI or any other tools like this, for example, or Tableau, for example, where there is a little bit more flexibility given to the user to structure the dashboards. But effectively, it is a parameterized way of pulling out meaning from data.
Correct.
In the future or in the near future, can AI tools be used to derive meaning from data differently? For example, by looking across multiple data sources, or by looking at unstructured data, or by giving a more easy to use, user friendly way of pulling meaning from data.
Sure, sure. So again, a very, very good question, Shantanu. So this is where we are talking about conversational AI or conversational BI. So, for example, I will try to explain this using our technology, our platform TransOrgIQ, which we have built. In fact, we have implemented such use cases there, where you feed in your structured and unstructured data, and this platform makes sense of that, creates a metadata and a schema of that data, fix data quality issues, and then you start asking questions. So the fundamental questions, say for example, if you're trying to analyze sales data, so give me a trend of sales in the last 6 months. So it'll create a nice chart graph like all of these dashboarding tools, and will give you some insights on that. But you then want to go further and ask that which are the regions where my sale has gone down. So it'll give you that. Then can you do the root cause analysis for, so there's a whole chain of why questions. So these conversational AI chatbots or platforms can go to nth level of root cause analysis, can go deep into the root causes for your decline in sales or increase in sales, whatever the use case is. And in fact, it can also help you build scenarios. If I increase my pricing by 5%, 2%, what is going to be the impact on my sales? If I give increase my discount by 10%, how will it impact my revenues in the next 6 months? So you can build all of those forecasting, predictive kind of scenarios as well. So of course, LLM is the brain, and we have, as I said, as we are speaking, we have implemented these use cases. We are implementing these use cases. Extremely powerful use case.
So far, wherever I've seen AI being deployed, it is almost always a case of some interesting use case that someone has suggested. It's been deployed, and it's either worked very well or not so well. And this is the approach most companies have followed so far. Is there a industry standard or industry best practice in terms of thinking about use cases and then deploying them? For example, is there a more organized and well structured and robust approach towards deployment of AI? And if so, what does it look like?
Sure. I think what is important for the organizations is to have an AI strategy or an AI roadmap before they start on this journey. So organizations already have MIS, some sort of analytics. Banks, of course, have more advanced analytics as well. So there is a sort of a decision framework that I would start with some internal processes rather than looking at high risk front end processes, where if suppose an AI model hallucinates, it may be quite detrimental. But I would look at some certain low to medium risk use cases and start with that, where I have opportunity to automate things, where I can, if it's a process which is managed by 100 employees, can I reduce it to 50, 70 employees, or maybe not just about the job reduction, but with those 100 employees, can I improve the volume of the work which these 100 employees can handle? So those would be criteria. I won't bother about like 2, 3 people process or processes which are not going to yield me sizable dollar saves or revenue improvements. So that could be one. Uh, and then I think the approach which works is a very tight proof of concepts. I know that proof of concept sometimes die their own natural death because it is sponsored by a senior leader but doesn't see the actual implementation doesn't happen and it doesn't see the light of the day. So think of some proof of concepts and different functions, whether it is your risk underwriting or collections or your front end marketing in the banks. Look at certain processes where people are ready to embrace that. Change management is a big issue. A lot of times people are scared about job loss and whether we can implement this in our function or not. So look at certain functions, certain areas where people are also willing. There is less risk, relatively speaking, and then slowly get into multiple functions. Start from marketing, HR, finance, operations. You can then create a whole strategy rather than starting everything at one go. Follow that phased approach.
We spoke a little bit about analytics, and in most companies, it is dispersed across multiple functions: marketing, sales, risk, credit, fraud, HR tend to have their own small teams of analysts. Is this the industry benchmark and the global industry best practice? And if not, what else is?
So this has been always the case, but now more matured organizations are creating their centers of excellence. It makes a lot of sense to have all of these teams come under one umbrella of analytics or AI centers of excellence, because that's where you will have economies of scale. If you're using a conversational capability, say in marketing, where you're asking questions on your data or your documents information, you can use a similar kind of a technique or a platform on your HR data, on your employee data. So why would you create two separate teams to work on a similar kind of a use case, but with different data sets? So, so you can have some standardized approaches and technologies which are transportable across functions. That is one. Number two, also in terms of overall human capital utilization, it makes sense to uh, sort of locate certain processes under certain leaders who are focusing on a particular kind of a skill set or certain kind of a process. For example, a leader is focusing just on the conversational AI, another leader is focusing on, say, data management and governance. So it makes a lot of sense. Plus, in my opinion, creating a center of excellence also gives a career path to talented individuals, talented data scientists or AI engineers. Because if they see a scale, they can see opportunity to work on different kinds of use cases. If those small functions are sitting within their teams, it is very difficult to give a career path to data scientists or AI engineers. So these are some of the things which I would say that COE or Center of Excellence is a very important initiative for organizations to centralize their analytics and AI initiatives. What do you think are some of the risks which business leaders like you are concerned about and which really bothers you about these AI programs?
So the first risk that comes to mind is, will I be able to execute the program in time and as per standard, as per expectations? Execution risk is the first one. The second is, if I deploy it, will it make mistakes? Because those mistakes, when done by AI, will be catastrophic. They'll be
Right.
multiple times more costly and bigger in scale than mistakes made by individuals. So those two things are the first two things that come to mind. Next two would be risks around information security and data privacy, personal data violations. Those two things come to mind. And thanks to this most recent directive from RBI to banks, which is also applicable to NBFCs.
And the global aspect as well. Yeah.
Correct. So this announcements in about 2 months ago from Anthropic about the capabilities of Mythos, for example, have got regulators across the world worried in terms of the fact that the tools are now fairly powerful, very, very powerful, in terms of unearthing vulnerabilities that have remained hidden for decades. Right?
Sure.
And bad actors who have access to such tools can wreak havoc. So this is also another risk that people worry about. What they're not so worried about, generally, and which they should be worried about, are risks like, for example, if you deploy it in underwriting, you create biases in decision making, or can this tool be used for unethical purposes, or if deployed wrongly, what type of reputation risk that can be caused to me.
Right.
So those types of things people are less worried about, but they're beginning to become worried about now, based on what they read and what they see happen elsewhere.
No, absolutely, and I can't agree with you more. Governance is extremely important, and it could cause organization millions and billions of dollars if there are any lapses. So security, trust, compliance, I know that there are solutions available in this area. Even the kind of solutions we offer, we have inbuilt some of those things in TransOrgIQ so that organizations are 100% compliant.
Right. And like with most technologies and most new things, it's important to ensure that deployment and governance go hand in hand.
Absolutely.
And if you have governance and the thought around risk coming as a post facto, as a band-aid solution, that doesn't really work effectively in future.
Absolutely.
And that leads to organizations then falling flat, and then they run the risk that the AI strategy itself fails, because the preparedness layer or the governance layer or both were not fully in sync or not fully keeping pace with the deployment aspect of the technology.
Perfect. Thank you so much, Shantanu. It's sort of a pleasure speaking with you.